In all the vast machinery of war, the giant aircraft carriers, sprawling depots, and fortified headquarters, the most critical base was often the smallest. It was not built by engineers, but dug by a trembling pair of hands. It was not found on any map, but existed wherever a soldier stopped running and decided to make a stand. This was the Foxhole, a one-man fortress that was less about fighting and more about surviving. The process was universal, from the jungles of Guadalcanal to the forests of the Ardennes. A soldier would drop his pack, grab his entrenching tool, a small foldable shovel, and start to dig. The first 6 inches were easy, scraping through topsoil and grass. The next foot was harder, hitting clay or roots. He would dig until he was waist deep, then chest deep, until finally only his helmet and eyes were above ground. The hole was roughly the length of his body and just wide enough to crouch in. It was a grave he dug for himself, with the fervent hope he would not have to lie in it. This hole in the earth became his entire world. Its walls were his protection from bullets and shrapnel. The dirt he piled in a low mound in front was his parapet. Here he stored his few essentials: his rifle, pointed toward the enemy line, a couple of grenades, his canteen, maybe a can of cold sea rations. It was damp, cold, and full of insects. In the rain, it became a muddy pit. In the dark, it was a lonely cell of pure terror. But within its confines, a soldier performed all the functions of a major base. It was his command post, from which he observed the enemy and called out targets. It was his armory, where he cleaned and maintained his weapon. It was his kitchen, where he ate his solitary meals. It was his bedroom, where he tried to snatch minutes of fitful sleep, his back against the cold dirt. Most of all, it was his psychological bunker. Inside this personal crater, the vast, overwhelming war shrank to a manageable size. He couldn't worry about the entire front, only the field of fire in front of his hole. The deafening chaos of an artillery barrage was muted when he curled at the bottom, his helmet pulled down, mouth open to equalize the pressure. The foxhole was a physical expression of a soldier's only goal: to reduce his exposure, to make himself small, to live through the next minute and the next. Sometimes 2 holes would be dug close together, connected by a shallow trench. This created a tiny 2-man community, a buddy base. Here, soldiers could share watches, food, and whispered conversations. They became responsible for each other's slice of the line. The bond forged in adjacent holes was often deeper than any formed in barracks or on ships. The foxhole was also intensely temporary. A unit might hold a line for days, then abandon their holes in a moment's notice to advance or retreat. They would simply climb out, leaving their personalized fortresses to fill with rain or be occupied by the enemy. They would dig new ones that night, in a new patch of anonymous dirt. In the end, the story of the foxhole is the story of the individual in modern war. Behind every grand strategy and industrial output was a man, alone with his fear, armed with nothing but a shovel and his will to see the dawn. The admirals had Ulithi, the generals had Tinian, but the infantrymen had only this: 6 feet of earth, carved out as a bargain with death. It was the smallest, most humble, and most universal base in any theater of the war, proving that the foundation of all victory was, ultimately, the enduring spirit of the man in the hole.